Hey everybody, it's Sean, and with me today is my brother Adam.
Hello.
And in full disclosure, this is a reshoot because we had some problems with our other video that came out of this, so this is a redo, so you'll forgive us if we kind of wander a bit for this.
He broke it last time.
Maybe, I don't know. So you're going to keep a timer on us and make sure we don't go over about 30 minutes. But we're going to talk about the movie we most recently saw, Star Trek Beyond.
That yawn seems to sum up your opinion of it, I think.
Yeah, more or less. I'm kind of tired, but yeah, this movie was kind of tiring. So, there you go.
So, before we get into our disagreements on it, expand on what you particularly disliked about it.
I just kind of was all over not a fan of basically just how all over the place it was. This shouldn't have been the third and final movie of a trilogy. Or at least a trilogy with a group of people that is currently at the helm of this. I've listened to a lot of other reviewers hate all over most people who dislike these movies. They don't like the main cast. They don't like a lot of the people in the supporting roles. And I've never really had a problem with them. I enjoyed the first one immensely. I understood problems with the second one. And this one just kind of feels like a it happened movie. Which, ironically, is the way Star Trek tends to end its movies. Is rather than with something big and spectacular, you just get kind of a, we made it. And that's kind of how this movie feels.
Kind of like a joke that has a punchline, but it's overextended.
Right. I'm trying to be purposely wordy around the spoilers for this so far. So just in general, I thought that there was a whole lot that didn't really need to happen in this that happens, and had really great special effects though. I will say that this movie had awesome special effects, especially since the last movie I reviewed was Ghostbusters 2016, and the effects for that movie stunk on toast.
I haven't seen the Ghostbusters movie yet, so I'll abstain from any opinion on that for now.
No, be glad.
But with this movie, like you said, the special effects for it were good. Of course, the space sequences that they have, that they always do in a Star Trek film, are on point.
Oh yeah.
And, there was one point I think that you almost kind of chuckled at when you saw it, or like did a groan of not exasperation. It's like, okay, we're doing this right now. And
you're gonna have to be a little more specific.
We'll save that for the spoilers section of this. But
Okay.
I still think that even in the moments where maybe it got a little silly, it managed to be something that was really well put together with visual effects, the sounds, and all that.
Right.
I don't know if I agree with you on the extra fluff that was in it. I think that most of what they had in there was relatively necessary, either to maintain character development or to further on the actual overall exposition that's in the movie.
Oh God! Sorry.
Whether you like the exposition within the movie or not, they did a good job of keeping it relatively even paced without having it be a constant attack one after the other of action sequences, which I've seen in movies like the newer Ninja Turtles films.
I
basically anything
like
by
plague,
he who shall not be named in Flight Company.
Mikhail Bay.
Oh, yeah, if you're going to go ahead and ruin my setup there, go ahead.
Not a problem. I'll absolutely ruin your setup.
Like you too.
So, long story short, before we get into spoiler territory, I thought this movie was very meh. You thought it was perfectly fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was as enjoyable in the sense of nostalgia, in the sense of, holy shit, this movie is awesome, I had a great time just from coming to this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But it was nice to go out, have food that was bad for you, and watch a good action film.
It was fun to be in this universe again and do so.
Okay. It was a fun movie to watch.
Okay, so yeah, definitely, if you can catch this movie as a matinee, go see it in theaters because, like we say, the space stuff is really big and it looks good. It's
jacket, when they first get onto the planet, the uniforms that they have, I'm going to find a way to get that jacket. I don't care if it costs me a shit ton.
Yeah,
of
the
money.
away team actually has an away uniform now, so it looks kind of cool.
Check it out, it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it does look really neat, I'll give them that. But yeah, if you don't want spoilers, stop the video right now. I'm assuming since this is a movie review, you don't care about spoilers though. And let's get into the spoiler portion of this movie.
The bad guy's a human!
Oh my god, is he ever.
Sorry, I figured since we gave the warning that we should just kick everyone else out immediately who didn't click the button fast enough.
Yeah.
So there's your punishment. Get out faster next time.
Yeah. This movie needed a stronger bad guy. In much the same way that Star Trek 3 needed a villain bigger than Khan that you weren't going to get. I'm sorry, you just will not. This movie needed a villain bigger than Khan, and it just does not follow it up as good.
You can't possibly get a single villain bigger than Khan. Or even a small grouping of villains, because technically in the original series it was Khan and his crew.
Right.
But
right.
I have to agree with you that while I like the villain because of the concept of him being an old war veteran from way earlier that felt betrayed by his Federation,
Right.
I can see that being a motivation for someone to turn against it. I think the idea of him living for God knows how long, I don't know how many years it was supposed to have been, and then becoming this otherworldly alien creature with super strength and things, that's just
They said
odd.
that Franklin was the first ship that hit Warp 4?
Something like that.
Something like that?
It became lost in space.
Yeah.
No trademark suing, please.
Oh. I'm very tired right now.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Tired Man. I call you Barry. You're welcome, Internet.
I hate you so much. Anyway, this movie needed a couple of things. First of all, it needed not the bad guy we had. This time, it actually needed Klingons because they were set up in Star Trek 2.
I will admit I was disappointed that it wasn't Klingons.
It should have been Klingons. It should have been a Klingon outpost that was kind of away from the Klingon Empire that nobody really paid attention to, and they were just kind of off doing their thing.
So, like a rogue group of Klingons.
Exactly, like some group of Klingons that had crash landed on that planet that essentially you could have the exact same story, just make the bad guys the Klingons.
Does that work, though, if they're trying to... I mean, I know the relations with Klingons are rough during the time of this film, but they were trying to prevent war with the Klingons.
Right, but that's exactly why the Klingons would be pushing for it. Think about it. A group of people entirely based towards an honorary society and mindset in war is left and stranded for dead. They have resentment towards their own people that haven't gone to pick them up, haven't tried to make any kind of a acknowledgement of them. And all of a sudden, now they've got this giant base out there that they can attack. This is an honor target they can get at, and if they can destroy it, they come back to their home front with just triumph waving behind them.
Okay, that makes a little more sense.
See, this movie needed Klingons, it needed a whole bunch of other stuff. But what I think this movie needed to be most of all was it didn't need to be the third movie. It needed to be the second movie.
I have to admit, as amazing as Benedict Cumberbatch was as Khan, as amazing as that movie overall was, as far as being like, just like this is Star Trek's worst situation, friggin' Kirk and Khan at it again, and then the nice twist they put into it. Yeah, you're right. It would have done much better even with the Klingons as the second movie rather than as the finisher.
Yeah, you wouldn't have had the problems that number 2 had, where it was basically the scenario of Kirk losing the ship only to have it given back to him. You wouldn't have had it would have proved a little less unnecessary, because then you could kind of say, well, he's got this actual thing he's done under his belt. He's actually defended the Federation outposts like this, and so he has this big head and ego at still a relatively young age, while he's still having the moral quandaries about Starfleet in himself. And from there you can run the whole, yeah, Kirk, you need to be taken down a notch. We're taking the Enterprise away from you.
So you feel like it would have been better character development.
Right, and it would have flowed a lot better. You could have let this be kind of a meh movie, and then you could have finished out Star Trek, the series, with essentially the Wrath of Khan, and just absolutely knocked it all out of the park.
That would be too bad.
No,
still...
it's the same problem I had with Ghostbusters. There's a really, really, really good movie in this. It just needed a few tweaks. It needed a few adjustments.
I was a little off-put by their final chase sequence. When, what's the guy's name?
Which guy?
The main bad guy. Like,
I just knew him as main bad guy.
The way...
He's completely forgettable.
And what... Alright, so they... For one thing, they do this radio frequency overload, which destroys the swarming ships.
Okay. Well, little setup in this. The bad guy apparently has this weird technology that he scavenged from this alien planet that allows them to basically hive mind their ships together, and they have these little destroyer ships that they can weave in and out of space and slice through other ships. Again, technology that I really think should be Klingon, because it's perfectly designed for them to just go in and fuck people's shit up.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't have a Klingon bird of prey.
Well, you could still have a Klingon bird of prey, but it'd be like scavenged parts from the Klingon bird of prey or something. Like I'm saying, there's a lot.
Okay.
This should have been the Klingons, but anyway.
Very adamant about this.
You have these ships that allow the bad guy to swerve, duck in and out. There's mass swarms of it, so you have that to worry and contend with. But you also have the problem that they're all hive mind controlled, so it's easy for them to get into it.
And I think hive mind controlled is a bit of a misnomer. They're able to communicate through their systems in perfect synchronization. And through the radio jamming that they perform, they break up the synchronization, the ships crash into each other and explode.
Yes.
So
yes. So
not actually a hive mind, enemy.
Thank you for that clarification. Yes, that is exactly what it is. Actually, now that I remember. Again, full disclosure, it's been a couple of days since we actually saw the movie, since we filmed it like the day of us seeing it, and then the audio just went completely and totally screwball, and I couldn't salvage it, so here we are reshooting this. But they figure out the best way to defeat the ships is they can send out a radio signal on this frequency that will disrupt their signals, and they'll blast them apart, and they'll all basically just kerflooey. So
they do it to Beastie Boys Sabotage.
They do it to Sabotage, and it's like
awesome.
It is, but at the same time, it's like J.J. Abrams just. If you want to do that, that's fine. I don't have a problem with you.
Just take the Beastie Boys out of your mouth for a second.
Yeah, just for a hot minute, stop salivating all over the Beastie Boys, because, I mean, I love them too. They're one of my favorite groups from my childhood. Whenever I play a D&D campaign, I don't name somebody Elo Asti in memory of one of my favorite my favorite album titles.
But it's still so cool.
It's
so it's set up. They're coming in on the swarm.
Yeah.
They say to the girl who's already had some music presented earlier in this film for other reasons.
I will give them that. It's not something they pull out of their ass. It's something that is sort of set up.
The setup is awesome.
And
it's like Sabotage starts blasting. They're flying through the swarm of ships, blowing shit up. It's awesome.
Yeah, they destroy the bad guy ships with the power of the Beastie Boys and Sabotage, and they pump it. They tell the station that they're attacking to pump that through their signal jammer,
and then it's just one giant.
And then it's just a giant wall of explosion that comes towards this space station.
Which is where it loses me for the action, because somehow the main bad guy and two cronies managed to fly through this.
Yeah, we're not too sure about what the hell happened. No, it wasn't. It was just the main bad guy.
No, it was him and two others, because they all got stuck into the ship whenever they flew up through the water afterwards.
Yeah. You're right.
Some weird stuff.
Yeah. That happens, and of course, Kirk has to save the day and everything. I will say this: for a minute, it looked like they were going to do the bad guy regrets his decision thing.
When they're in the
they're in this little
thing.
pod, and the bad guy's about to unleash his master virus or whatever.
I'm really glad they didn't do that, though.
Yeah, he's looking around and he's seeing what's going down and all the things that are happening also because of him. And it looks like he's going to have the whole, my God, what have I done?
What have I become thing with the reflection in the glass?
Yeah, and it has that, and I'm like, oh God, we're going to do the bad guy remorse thing. This is going to suck. But then he takes that glass and almost tries to stab Kirk with it. And so it's like, oh, okay, I'll give you that. That was nice.
It could work.
I didn't
but not
have
for
that.
what they did with him as a character development. It just,
Right.
I'm really glad they didn't go with that. As bad as he already was.
Yeah,
not that he was bad, but as meh as he was.
Yeah, that's the entire problem with this movie, is it's so meh and forgettable.
It's not all meh. It's just that the certain parts of it just kind of don't sit well.
Unfortunately, those are the strong parts. Those are the parts that are supposed to be the biggest thing for it. And it just comes off as bleh.
Earlier to the film, I think, post-film, you had an issue that the sequence where the Enterprise is destroyed and crashes and all that.
Yes, there's a sequence where the Enterprise is destroyed, all of Star Trek 2, 3.
You're going to get so much hate mail.
I know, I'm going to get all the hate mail for that. Yeah, they destroy the Enterprise, and it's supposed to be reminiscent of the Enterprise destruction in Star Trek 3. But by this point, you had so much more time and just camaraderie with the characters and the ship itself, and know what that means to them, that for all of that to happen, it means that they gave up the biggest thing they had. It was a part of their lives that they lost.
It was all of their lives they lost.
Exactly.
It was their home, it was their mission, it was their exact purpose in life.
Exactly. And when it comes through here, it's in a very rushed scene. There's build up to it, but it doesn't really...
think that it was a rush scene as much as wasn't given reverence post tense.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'll work with that. That's a much better description. Thank you. There's a lot of gravitas to the scene where it's destroyed. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of problems, and I'll give them all the credit here. They portray people in a combat scenario very well. Nobody's going, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Well, not to an excess, at least.
Not to an excessive and stupid point. It's people acting smart in a bad situation, which is something that I have a huge problem with in movies and that hardly anybody shows, which is smart people making smart decisions when shit hits the fan.
Right.
And they have that, and it's all handled very well, and Kirk has to make, and for this, I will say, Chris Pine does look very, very remorseful in his character when he initiates the ship-wide evacuation. And he has to look somber, and he does, and it's like, wow, this is actually something really big for him.
I will say he kind of got outdone by Sulu in that scene, though. Like, Sulu, when he was handling the chair, and has to relay that order to the rest of the ship, I feel like the person who plays Sulu just absolutely nailed that part.
Oh yeah, no,
they really did a good job of it.
He has been a constant in these movies, and I love him for being Sulu.
He's
so
come
good.
a long way from Harold and Kumar, sir.
Yes,
but don't get me wrong, I still love those movies.
Well, the first movie's fun.
I actually saw the first one. Second one was several years after the fact that it came out, but
right.
Still, I had fun with it.
Anyway, no, everybody in this movie works wonderfully for what they're supposed to do. I've never really had a problem with any of the cast members in their roles. A lot of people have had problems with Chris Pine. They don't think he's that interesting as Kirk, but if you want to be honest, Kirk isn't that interesting a character.
It's mostly the actor that seems to have made him.
Right.
Even when it comes to like the second generation, which is your favorite of the two Star Trek series, the captain himself can't be an interesting character because he has to maintain a certain level of discipline and control of the ship.
Right.
So therefore, his presentation of what little self he's allowed to give has to be that.
And I thought it's been fine, and they have everybody get to essentially team up with people in this movie. They have Kirk team up with Chekhov to do the stuff down on the planet, which...
Oh no, it wasn't. No, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it
For
was
some reason,
Chekhov.
I went to Scotty for some reason.
No, Scotty
He
teams up with the new chick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the makeup and the prosthesis for that outfit.
Oh, yeah.
was
I
freaking
think that
awesome.
falls in with the special effects. They do practical effects. They blend the special effects well. That way, when you are absolutely able to trick the eye in this because they use the special effects so sparingly with the real life stuff.
Mm.
And it is one of the things
They
I will
look sharp.
absolutely say I love about these movies. They go the extra mile and they make it look good. And so when you see this alien standing in front of you with these big humanoid eyes, I can look and go, I know it's CG, but the fact that I know I'm not looking at a green screen behind them,
It makes a difference.
it makes a huge difference. And it absolutely does here, because if it weren't, all of these things would look shit.
Then we would have, well, like a crappier version of Avatar.
So Avatar.
The CG in Avatar was pretty good for the time.
So you'd have
the
Avatar.
story wasn't so much.
You'd have giant blue kitty porn.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, you have that happening, and it's Kirk and Chekhov, who Chekhov is supposed to be in the basically officer program for coming up through Starfleet.
Was he? I thought he was already an established ensign at that point.
And he was an ensign, but he's in the command
Gotcha.
command line. And
There's a lot to the Star Trek U that I actually don't know about.
yeah.
I watched the show and the movies and stuff, but I never really read the books.
You should read some of the expanded universe on it. It's really, really good. Read the Kobayashi Maru. It's a book where they essentially explore what some of the other people did when they took the Kobayashi Maru test, besides Kirk.
That'd be interesting.
It is, honestly. Sulu's is very, very interesting, as is Chekhov's,
Okay.
as is Scotty's.
There seems to be a list.
There's a pattern in this. No, that's a really well-written story.
Okay.
But you have those two running around. You have Spock and McCoy.
Which they did wonderful together.
They were fantastic together. I've liked Zachary Quinto as Spock for the longest time. When he first started doing this, I absolutely love him doing that. Carl Urban does a magnificent McCoy, which I think is that much more impressive because all the others kind of had their older selves to bank with
He did
and
not.
play against. He did not.
I don't think the person who played Scotty had one either, because
No.
He
Simon
passed away
Pegg,
by then.
Simon Pegg and Carl Urban definitely did the best out of capturing these characters, because they didn't have the extra backing to work with against them.
right.
And so, as always, those two are good and fun, and it's wonderful to see them on screen doing what they do. But yeah, there's an entire segment between Spock and McCoy. Spock's been injured on the way down, and it's just them having to do their back and forth. And you would think you'd get old real fast, but it honestly feels nice and refreshing.
They did a good job of not overusing the dialogue right away.
Right.
A lot of times it's like, okay, here's what we want you to do. They burn out when the first, 2 exchanges, and you got another 10 minutes of screen time to fill between the two people.
Right, and
But
it
paced
feels
themselves well.
It does. It feels like they have a natural dialogue between the two. What's our time?
We're sitting about 15, 20 minutes ish.
Okay, so we're good. We're good. We can go on for a little bit more. Let's see. What's the other one?
I think the only other thing I've heard you and me both have issue with was their action sequences, not the space action sequences.
No,
but
the space
actual-
action sequences, honestly, were the best part of this movie.
Right, it's more the physical choreography and more specifically the camera angles they're in.
Yeah, that was my biggest complaint about
Somebody
this.
in there loves the shake cam, and I'm just going to.
I don't know if it's the shaky cam or the spiral cam that they love more.
Whatever it is, I'm
But,
going to strap
oh
them
my
to a box
God.
and just vibrate them until they fall apart.
Yeah, there was one point. It's not even in an action sequence.
No, it is. Whatever they're saying.
No, the part I'm talking about. This
Which one
isn't
do you-
even in an action sequence. This is when the bad guy is talking to Kirk or somebody. He's talking to Uhura. Is who he's talking to.
They're in the wreck.
They're in the wreck.
Gotcha.
And the camera's just spinning all over the place, and I'm like, just stop, hold still, nothing's happening, and I want to puke right now.
You got a cameraman with ADHD?
Oh my god. Dude, I have ADHD, and I know what the fuck's kill frame is.
I thought you
So
had ADD.
I have whatever.
They've probably changed
who
it
the
so
hell
many
knows
times. It's
anymore?
something different by now, anyway. But that part, I didn't have as much of a problem with that part because at least they had some distance from the person that they're watching to the actual lens of the camera during the fight sequence between the crew member they meet on the planet and the man who killed her father, or the alien who killed her father, whichever one you prefer.
Well, is he an alien or is he?
Whatever, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he's one of
they
the
are
crew
so
guys.
close to this fight as they're moving around that I literally cannot see clearly what is going on.
Yeah.
And I get that, that you're supposed to be intimate with the action, but there's a point where if you're in a fight, you have to be able to still understand what's going on. Otherwise,
Right.
you can watch Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, and Jet Li all get together and have a fuss or cluck of a fight, and if you're too close in, you're not going to know what the hell's going on. It's going to bore the shit out of you.
Right.
And that's what I felt like happened with that fight sequence.
Yeah. But I think that's about it.
There really isn't much too more to say.
No.
It was a good movie. It just has little points that were...
It needs a couple of changes, just one or two minor things.
But a good movie.
It's still decent. Like I say, if you can catch a matinee, pay the $5 to go see it as a matinee. If for no other reason than the space stuff still looks big and grand, and it's fun to be back in this universe doing what they do. So.
And if you get a hard-on off Beastie Boys and blowing shit up in that order, it's also a good movie. Hey, last time we shot this, you made yourself available to at least 3 different people, so...
I did?
Yes.
Oh, that's
I
right.
believe first time it was Ms. Zoe Saldana.
Yes,
I'm afraid
Saldana.
I'm terrible with names. And then the second time it was...
Speaking of which, Miss Saldana, for whatever reason you find yourself watching this, I am single. Give me a call.
The next one was someone different, I don't remember. Let's not keep that going. Although I think before we do close out, some condolences to the family of the member who played.
Yes,
Chekhov.
there is a nice thing at the end that I think was probably tacked on after the fact, but it almost had to be. It just feels a little rushed, but it's still nice that it's there.
It really wasn't even...
Anton Yelchin, who plays Pavel Chekhov in this series, very unfortunately passed away due to an automobile incident. Something malfunctioned with his car, and it pinned him to a gate.
I didn't know exactly what happened.
Yes,
but...
and he died relatively quickly. But either way, it's very sad, and so with us also having the passing of Leonard Nimoy, which is mentioned in the film pretty tastefully and well, we also, at the very end, have a mention for the passing of Anton Yelchin. So it was nice to see them put that in there, even that it happened so close to the film's release. They were willing to go back and put that in there.
Yeah. It was a good finish for a movie, and that's probably a good finish for us here.
Yeah. Felt way better than CGI Paul Walker smiling and racing Vin Diesel.
I have made it a point to avoid anything that's fast and or furious in the immediate sense. So,
Man, you would hate my new fast food joint.
what is it called?
Furious Tacos.
I
They happen fast.
Oh, God damn it.
Yeah.
No, I'm out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I did it now.